Hi, folks. Welcome back to the PagerDuty Twitch channel. I'm Mandy Walls, DevOps Advocate here at PagerDuty. It's Friday afternoon, so it's time for the How To Happy Hour. If you're new to our channel, we run this show every Friday afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. We cover all kinds of things about PagerDuty, so you'll find us here on twitch.tv/PagerDuty. If you'd like to get in touch with our team, we'd love to hear from you. If you have questions, things you'd like to see, if you'd like to be on our show, give us a shout. We're community-team@pagerduty.com, or you can hit us up on the forums. That's community.pagerduty.com, and you can sign in there, ask questions, and the community folks can help you out. We have some things coming up. So later in February, on the 21st, it's a Tuesday this time around, we'll be having the next Terraform Quarterly Roundtable. So if you're using our Terraform provider and you have questions or comments, you want to find out what's going on over there, join us on the 21st. That'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, and I think it's 6 p.m. British time, so maybe 7 p.m. Central Europe time for our folks over there. Also coming up next month, March 9th through the 12th, we'll be back at Scale, the Southern California Linux Expo. Kat and I will both have sessions, and we'll also have a booth. So stop by, say hello, get some stickers, visit Pagey, all that great stuff. If you want to know more about what events we have coming up, that's at pagerduty.com/events. And for our community updates, you can follow us at community.ops.io/pdcommunity. And we post updates over there every week, so you know where we are, what we're doing, what's going on, other cool stuff from PagerDuty. So speaking of cool stuff from PagerDuty, this week we have with us Sam Ferguson, and he's going to tell us about incident workflows.
Thank you, Mandy. Great to be here. I'm excited to be joining Twitch. This is my first time on the show. Awesome. And I love the intro too. So I'm gonna jump in and go ahead and talk about incident workflows, one of our really exciting features that's in early access now and soon to be generally available. So we have some slides that I'm going to go through, and then I'll also go through a quick demo too to talk about some of the functionality.
Love
so
it.
Does that sound good, Mandy? Can I
that
jump
sounds
in, please?
Awesome. Yes. We want to see how this all works.
Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep. Off we go.
Okay, great. So what we found is that PagerDuty today supports a lot of different actions. It's not just alerting when things break. We also allow you to do things like create Slack channels, append notes, subscribe stakeholders, and send status updates. We also allow you to engage additional responders and do things like pull in Zoom conference bridges to incidents. But what's previously been the case is that these actions have been spread out throughout our product. They've often required users to take manual action when there is an incident ongoing in order to take these individual actions. And what ultimately happens is that responders forget. There's stuff going on, they're responding to an incident, and they forget to add a note, or getting the Zoom conference bridge takes the back seat to actually engaging with the incident directly. And so this has been a gap. We've recognized this. We've heard this from many of our customers. And what I'm excited to talk about is how we've been addressing this. So actually, if you zoom back about a year ago, we acquired a company called Catalytic. And what Catalytic does is they provide a powerful workflow engine that we've been spending about the last year incorporating into our product. So what this means is that using incident workflows, our users can configure if this, then that logic that defines when an action should be taken and what actions should occur as part of an incident workflow. So again, this is in early access today, and it's soon to be generally available. But there's two things that I really like to call out about Catalytic as well, and what we've been doing to incorporate this into our product. So the first thing is that because this is a company we acquired, we've incorporated a ton of the functionality into our product already, but there's still a lot more that's coming. So there are additional actions, there are additional triggers, and other pieces that we're planning to support, and we'll be able to quickly incorporate into our product soon because this is so flexible and there's so much capability as part of Catalytic. And the second thing is one of those in particular that I really like to zoom into today. So what I have here is this is an example workflow. There are some steps that are part of incident workflows in our release that's in early access right now. And there's some of these that are a little bit more future facing. But the piece that really resonates with a lot of our customers is this human in the loop component, which is something that we're working to build now and will be coming as one of our future releases this year. And what this means, and the differentiation I like to call out here, is that in this workflow, you can see that this will fire for all P1 and P2 workflows. So whenever there's a priority 1 or priority 2 incident, you can configure this workflow to run automatically. There's a handful of steps that you probably want to take automatically as well. You probably want to create that incident Slack channel and have that spun up with no user involvement. You want to maybe trigger automation actions and make it so those run automatically as well, or create the Zoom conference bridge and get that configured and wired up to the incident too. But when you look at steps 7 and 8, there's a couple actions that we often see our users want to have some human involvement, even if they're queued up with some automation and a workflow. And this is what we call human in the loop. So the one in particular that really stands out is sending out a status update. Oftentimes it's helpful to have that status update all queued up. You can use templates to get it so it's formatted already. But before you're sending something to executives or to customers, you might want to review it, or you might need a user to go in and add additional context that may have previously been missing. And this is really that human in the loop component. And there's a few different things here that are important. One is adding the relevant context through various forms. So making it so you can do that in places like Slack, in places like the web app, etc. Additionally, you want to be able to use a timer to know when you should do this. So you probably want to be prompted every 15 minutes, or maybe your organization wants to be prompted every 30 minutes to send out this type of update. And then lastly, you want to do that on a loop often too. So maybe it's not just after 30 minutes the incident has been ongoing, but it's every 30 minutes you want to send out another update. And so this is the type of workflow where we see a lot of power in having both automation combined with human validation and human action as well, all bundled together into one holistic workflow. So I guess I can pause. Mandy, does that all make sense to you? Or do you have any questions about workflows, what we have today and where we're going? And I can also go through a little bit more context, and then I can jump into a demo too to show our current capabilities.
Yeah, the human in the loop stuff I hadn't seen before. So that seems super interesting. And I do have one question there, because especially like when we're dealing with a P1, P2, like we do internal updates and external updates. So could you put two pieces of that workflow together to say, hey, here's your reminder for your half-hour external update, but here's your reminder for every 15 minutes internal update, so that you could have them sort of on different times?
Yeah, so I want to, workflows are a really powerful building block, basically, is the way we see it. And there's a lot of flexibility we're providing for our customers already in terms of configuring what actions should occur and when they should occur too. And we're going to be adding additional actions too. So we've started with internal updates.
Awesome.
You can send out status updates today. And then, as you know, we also recently released our external status page too.
Yes.
And so I think that this is an awesome opportunity where we're looking to figure out how we can incorporate additional features across our whole product and additional integrations as well into workflows to make this a centralized place to drive those actions. So the short answer is a lot of this stuff is coming.
Awesome.
Of being able to take actions internally, externally, and incorporate other features into this functionality as well.
Sweet. That sounds great. Yeah. If anyone else watching today has any questions, you can put those in the chat and we'll ask them as we go. So yeah, this is great.
Cool. And then I'm going to jump forward. One of the things that I do also like to call out when we talk about incident workflows is that workflows themselves are really powerful, but they become exponentially more powerful when you consider them in context of all of the different capabilities that we have within PagerDuty. And so what I really like about this visual is it sort of describes that holistic vision of what we have today and where workflows fit in. So on the left, you can see that we have the event ingest. And again, this is one of PagerDuty's core capabilities, that we can ingest everything. You can throw everything at us and we can turn it into events, alerts, and incidents. But then when you think about the event orchestration piece, event orchestration is one of those powerful capabilities which allows you to parse through the events and alerts that come in. So here, there's really two things that are happening as part of event orchestration. We're looking at the event payload, and we're seeing that it contains the current term billing service. And within EO, you can set priority on that incident. So this is the first action. You can set priority to P1, which again, we can use in incident workflows to trigger that incident workflow automatically. And then the second piece here is that it runs automated diagnostics as well. So using our automation actions, you can see on the bottom stream here, you're able to trigger an automation action that takes on running automated diagnostics and performs that automation piece in parallel to the incident workflow, which is taking actions like creating the Slack channel, setting up the Zoom conference bridge, whatever those actions are that you've configured, so that when responders actually jump onto the Zoom conference bridge and start engaging with the incident, they already have those automation actions run. So they have diagnostics and they're able to start responding to the incident. And so again, just to like zoom out here, what's really neat about these capabilities is that they all work in concert with each other. These pieces all fit together into a puzzle that makes it so our customers can effectively engage and respond to incidents a lot faster and get to resolution in a scenario that I really think is like a 1 + 1 = 4 situation here. So I guess with that, I can jump into a demo. But Mandy, do we have any more questions that are coming in or anything else that you want to chat about?
No, not yet. I've been joking with people, like I started referring to this as like luxury incident response, because there's so much here that you can do with all of the tools that take so much of the stress and anxiety out of the process for people. They can just concentrate on figuring out what's wrong and not figuring out like, where's my Zoom, where's my channel, all that stuff. This would be awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I think I was talking to a customer earlier this week who was talking about how they like to be lazy. Like that's really what we're trying to support, is like we want to take as much of the burden off of individual users as we can to make it so they can either focus on other things, or they're not having to lift a lot of the actual more of the process steps in their incident response, so they can focus on the things that are broken and addressing those.
Totally. All this mechanics it just happens and you don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, let's jump into a demo. And I think this is always the fun part.
Definitely.
To get everything working here. But you can still see my screen. Yep.
Yep.
So right now, and this is my test environment. And so I have incident workflows enabled on this test environment. So I'm going to actually navigate over in this automation menu. I can go to incident workflows, which have this nice little new badge here. And this takes me to the incident workflows landing page, where you can see that I have a bunch of different workflows that have already been configured from my account. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to run through this major incident workflow, which is basically what we were just talking about. A lot of those actions that we want to support during major incident response are things that we can take here. So I already have one workflow set up on this account, or I have some actions and some triggers set up on this workflow, but we're going to go ahead and add a little bit more to make this a bit more robust. So just to step back, when we think about incident workflows, there's really two primary components. There are the triggers, so specifying when they should run, and then there are the actions, which specify what exactly should happen. And so here, I already have a conditional trigger set up. And if we look at this, this allows me to define whenever certain conditions are met, we are going to run this workflow. So here we say that whenever priority matches P1, and we can also say, or priority matches P2, we're going to go ahead and trigger this workflow. You can also define logic for on what services this workflow should run. But what we often hear for this major incident use case is a lot of our customers just want to say that whenever any incident is marked as a P1 or a P2, they're going to kick off that major incident response. So we could specify individual services, but we're going to leave this as all services to keep that universal across the board. So we save that. We've now added in that conditional trigger. We can also add a manual trigger too. So we want to make sure that responders can kick off workflows manually if they ever need to in a pinch. And so here we can say that all incident responders should be able to run it. And again, we're just going to leave this as applied to all services. So this will allow us to trigger this workflow manually too on specific incidents. Okay, so we have two triggers added to this workflow. We also want to add in some actions. So we already have an action to add some teams as stakeholders and to send out a status update. So this is one way we can manage, again, those internal comms. But we're going to go ahead and take on some other actions too. So one of the ones that we hear is really valuable and that is newly added into incident workflows is the ability to create a per incident Slack channel. So what this does is it means that every time an incident is created, we can create a dynamic Slack channel that can be used in that incident response automatically. So here, I can select my PagerDuty Ferguson Slack workspace, and we can also define what the channel name should be. So by default, we'll let you set it as incident_incident number, but I can also use reference variables to pull in other variables here too. So we could say like we want incident.priority to come in here. So now we will name the channel incident_incident number, and then we'll add the priority on the back of that channel name. So we can go ahead and click save. We've now added that action. And then I want to take a couple other actions here as well. So one of them is we want to add escalation policies as responders. So if you think about a major incident, often we hear that there are certain teams that you want to pull into every major incident. And so one of the common examples, and we do this internally too, is that we want to pull in incident commanders to a major incident. This is pretty straightforward. They define how we can respond to that incident, and can help run a lot of the processes as well. We can also pull in another escalation policy here. So we could say we want to pull in ops leads for all major incidents, and we can give them a message. So like, hey, we have an incident ongoing. And again, you could use reference variables here and select different things to input. We're just going to leave that blank for now. Okay, so we've now added teams as stakeholders. We're sending a status update. We're creating a Slack channel for the incident, and we're adding an escalation policy as responders. Let's do one more action, and let's see this in flight. So the other thing that we often hear is really important is to have a Zoom conference bridge or have a conference bridge where you can collaborate and respond to the incident. So this one's really easy. There actually are no inputs you need to configure here because we already have this integration set up. So I can just go ahead and click save, and now I have this added on the incident as well. The last thing, which I think is really just a fun UX component to call out, is we have the ability to drag and reorder these too. So actions run sequentially, and so if you want certain ones to happen in a specific order, you can drag them around and just save them in that order too. So here we have adding the stakeholders, sending a status update. They'll each go in order that we have them specified here. Okay, so the last step before we can actually use this workflow is we got to publish it. So if I go ahead and click publish, it's going to prompt me to know that this is triggered conditionally on all services, and it's also manually triggered on all services. If I click save, or if I click publish, it's now saved. This workflow is live. So let's go ahead and let's see if it works.
Right.
So one of the ways I like to show this off is that you can actually trigger workflows directly in Slack. So using our PagerDuty integration, I can use the PD trigger command, and I can select an impacted service here. So we're just going to say my backend service. I can give the incident a title, so I can say test incident. And then what we need to do here is, because we set those conditional triggers for P1 and P2 incidents, if I select priority 1 here, this should kick off that major incident workflow automatically. So let's see if I configured everything correctly. Okay, so we've now got that incident triggered. We can see if I jump back into PagerDuty, let's see if we got it, or if it went through, and it did. So we can now see there's the incident. And if we jump over into the timeline, we'll now see that, okay, yeah, we triggered this, we triggered a test workflow. I have another one actually going. We triggered the major incident workflow, which we just configured, which is pulling in some subscribers, and it's sending out a status update. It's also going to add that Zoom conference bridge that we set up. And then we can see here that we also created the dedicated Slack channel, and we have also pulled in responders. So we pulled in that ops lead as well. And then we get a little nice notification to say that that workflow has actually completed, which is really cool. So those actions that we just configured into that workflow all happened automatically. And if I jump back over into Slack, let's see. Yep, you can see. So we have this Slack channel created, and this will actually start populating all of the different events that we created. So you can see that responders are getting pulled in, and that's getting sent over into the Slack channel, and any future events on that incident will also flow through here. So that's really it. That is incident workflows in a nutshell. And you can start to see that there's a lot of flexibility we're introducing in workflows. You can see that this screen that we were just talking through, the ability to add different actions, to configure different triggers, is really scalable. So you can envision a future when we're incorporating a lot more actions, a lot more triggers, and adding different levels of flexibility into incident workflows from here. So I'll pause there. Those are the main critical pieces I like to hit on when we talk about this capability. Are there any questions that you have, Mandy, or anything that's popping up in our chat?
Yeah, let's do a little bit of the mechanics, right? So you mentioned this is in early access. So what exactly will that mean for folks who want to get this?
Yeah, so it's an early access, but we're pretty far along in our early access program. So most accounts at this point should have access to the functionality.
Awesome.
You can also specifically request early access through, on our website, we have an early access request form where you should be able to specify you want access to incident workflows, and then we can work with your account team or with you directly to give you access.
I think I have the link for that. And then when you're setting this stuff up, do you need to be an admin or have special permissions or anything else to get these to go, or can any of your responders hook one up?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it is a little bit gated. So if you want to set up a workflow that applies across all services on an account, you need to be an admin or an account owner. But we
Awesome.
also allow managers for specific services. So if you are a manager on a service or have a manager base role, you are allowed to configure workflows, but can only apply them to services that you have control over.
Oh, that's super helpful. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because what we expect and what we've seen actually with a lot of our early access customers is that many of them want to set up workflows that can be applied across the board, but there are also individual teams that want to run certain workflows for their role in incident response. And so this different layered permissions model helps support both individual teams as well as more holistic incident response processes for a full organization.
Now, if they overlap, do all the things run, or does one thing cancel another out or take precedence? Or
Yeah, it's a good question. So there are certain actions which we expect that you'd want to take multiple times, and there are certain actions which you don't probably want to take multiple times. So like the way we have it set up right now, you can't create multiple Slack channels for a
okay.
incident right now. That's gonna only take that's only gonna happen once. But some of the actions like sending a status update, we're not gonna limit doing that. Or you can subscribe multiple sets of stakeholders too. And so on an incident, if you have multiple workflows that fire, that's okay. Like we will allow multiple to run, but there's some actions that will prevent from happening duplicatively.
Awesome. That totally makes sense. Sweet.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. If there's any questions, you can put them in the chat out there, folks. Shout out to Joey Slow Roll. Thanks for joining us today. There's a whole bunch of people out there. So yeah, if you want to see more or have any questions, put that in the chat. So what was I also going to ask? So I had another question. It was on the tip of my tongue, and now I forget. In the meantime, I did post some of the documentation for the Slack integration so that folks can get that set up. That's super popular, I'm sure. I will put the docs for incident workflows in the chat as well.
Yeah, the last thing I would say too, Mandy, is this feature is still in early access, but we also have a lot of exciting plans for it next year too.
Oh yeah,
And
what else can you tell us about?
Well, I don't want to get too far into it, but like we have support for Slack right now, and we're going to be adding comparable support for MS Teams.
Excellent.
We're going to be expanding to incorporate some of other core incident response actions, like adding notes to incidents and some of these base capabilities. But what I really want to ask folks out there is, what else do you want to see? Because we are still expanding some of our roadmap for what we can incorporate into this surface or into these workflows. And so, feel free to add things in the chat or let us know through other channels if there are workflow actions or enhancements that you really want to see. Because as a project manager, I'm always loving to hear the feedback that we get from our customers. And so let us know. We're excited to build and enhance on this capability from what we already have today.
Awesome. Sweet. And these will trigger off of incidents. They're going to trigger off of like change events or other stuff that comes in, right?
Yeah. So again, we're building a flexible service. So right now they just trigger on incidents. These are incident workflows. But we also have some exciting things that are coming that should allow us to add more flexibility to how they're being triggered to.
That'll be sweet.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what's really cool again about this starting from our Catalytic acquisition is they have such a powerful workflow engine that we've just scratched the surface on what we're able to apply with incident workflows. So really excited about that. And I know there's a lot more exciting stuff coming from that team.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back on again to show more off when things are ready.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I don't think we have any questions, but this has been really super exciting to see. And we'll get a chance to play with this, I think, on a later show. We'll set it up and walk through what else we can play with there. So that's pretty exciting. And yeah, this has been great.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, should we wrap up a few minutes early if there are
no? We'll give folks some time back. This has been super good. Again, this has been the How To Happy Hour, and we're here every Friday talking about PagerDuty stuff. So if you have any other questions or there were things that you didn't get to see, you can give us a shout. We're community-team@pagerduty.com. You can also join our forums, and we'll be able to hit folks up over there with questions. And if you want to sign up for that early access, the link is in the chat there, pagerduty.com/early-access to get hold of all these cool things before they're out for general availability. So super exciting. This is going to be great. I think people are really going to get a lot of value out of this.
Yeah, I'm excited. We've gotten some great comments already and great input from our customers. But again, excited to see and hear the feedback as more people engage. And thank you so much for having me. It's been
awesome. Thank you, Sam, so much for coming. Everybody else out there, thank you for joining us today. This has been the How To Happy Hour. If you're joining us on YouTube, make sure you're following our channel. If you're here on Twitch, follow us and come back next week when we're back with some more content. So thanks very much. In the meantime, we'll wish everyone an uneventful weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks all. Thanks, Mandy.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you never miss a stream. Follow us at PD Community and PagerDuty on twitch.tv. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you'd like to be on our stream, email us at community-team@pagerduty.com so we can feature the cool things you're doing. And don't forget, check out all of our global events on our calendar at pagerduty.com/events.